let's dive straight into the absolute madness of The Boys Season 5 finale. I'm telling you, Blood and fucking Bone literally pulled zero punches. We got massive deviations from the comic books, cinematic parallels that will blow your mind, and some truly poetic resolutions for these characters we've been riding with for years. I'm gonna break down every single shocking moment of this episode, so let's just get right into the wreckage. Okay, we have to start with Ryan's absolutely savage takedown of Homelander. He tells his dad, to his face, that supreme power doesn't make him a god, it just makes him a lonely, miserable piece of garbage. Ouch, right? We literally see Homelander track his son down to this isolated cabin, totally desperate to piece together a real, non-corporate manufactured family. And to me, this perfectly nails the finale's biggest theme, nature versus nurture. I mean, they have the exact same blood and the exact same powers, but their upbringings totally dictated their souls. Homelander was tortured in a freezing Vought lab, while Ryan was loved unconditionally by Becca. That pure love gave Ryan the moral clarity to just see right through Homelander's pathetic facade, ripping away his delusions of grandeur with just a few devastating words. And you know, that desperate need for genuine connection really brings us to the heartbreaking send-off for Frenchie. We watch the boys bury him in a makeshift grave, and man, it feels ripped straight out of the ending of Logan. It's a gritty, Western-style farewell for a deeply flawed hero. Plus, Huey finding that final will and testament addressed to Petite Huey in his pocket, just brutal. Frenchie admitting he's seen the absolute best and worst of them all is a total gut punch. But the most immediate devastating fallout hits Kimiko. Losing Frenchie pushes her into a severe, heartbreaking regression. She goes completely mute again, totally consumed by this blinding anger. Tragically though, it's exactly this uncontrollable rage that initially lets her harness those volatile nuclear powers she acquired from the Soldier Boy experiments. So, while all that grief is unfolding, Homelander is busy prepping his ascension. And wow, the terrifying scale of his ego is on full display here. The Democratic Church of America broadcast this black and white ad that is a chilling, direct parody of Apple's famous Think Different campaign. But instead of honoring the crazy ones who changed the world like Einstein or Ali, every single great mind in history is erased and replaced by Homelander. He is literally attempting a universe reboot. By pushing every other historical figure aside to prop himself up as the singular savior, he is perfectly setting the stage for his ultimate unchallenged fascist takeover. He's effectively rewriting history to start and end with him. Now, if Homelander's curse is his raging ego, Sister Sage proves that immense power is its own kind of psychological trap. Pushed to the absolute edge by all the chaos around her, she uses Kimiko's explosive anger to trigger a blast that fundamentally wipes her own intellect. She willingly trades infinite genius for absolute ignorance. And honestly, the craziest part, we see her later in this rundown motel just binging Taco Bell completely at peace. She basically proves that sometimes the absolute smartest move you can make in a world going completely mad is to just shut off your brain and enjoy some chalupas. For her, ignorance is literal, delicious bliss. Let me tell you, choices have massive consequences in this finale, and absolutely no one proves this better than the Deep. After spending the entire series desperate for Homelander's approval, only to be brutally belittled by him one last time at the White House, he flees to the beach. This is supposed to be his domain, right? But he is utterly alone. In a moment of pure, ironic karmic justice, he's killed by an octopus. It's a brutal nod to his betrayed lover, Ambrosius. Now, this is a massive deviation from the comic books, where he actually survives to the very end and joins a rebranded Ku Klux Klan-style team called The True. But honestly, I genuinely prefer the show's deeply pathetic aquatic grave for him. It's the most fitting end for a guy who never truly stood for anything. Let me walk you step by step through the claustrophobic escalation of the White House climax, because it is an absolute masterclass in tension. It plays out like a high-stakes cinematic heist gone completely wrong. Step 1, Homelander officially demands godhood on national television, standing arrogantly in front of a towering golden statue of himself. Step 2, the boys attempted desperate stealth infiltration through the underground tunnels, only to step right into a devastating sonic killbox trap. But then, just as things look incredibly bleak, we get step 3, a brilliant moment of redemption where Ashley is guided by her hallucinated conscience, Ashley 2, to free our heroes. She finally realizes Homelander would eventually tear her apart anyway. And finally, step 4. Right when Homelander thinks he's won the whole shebang, Billy Butcher crashes through those heavy wooden doors with a spectacular Kool-Aid Man entrance announcing, "Daddy's home." Just epic. Now, if you know the comics like I do, you were probably anticipating the infamous twist right about here, the reveal that Black Noir is actually a Homelander clone, and he's the one who violently kills Homelander on the White House lawn. But the show totally abandoned that twist. And honestly, it was a brilliant creative choice. By dropping the clone storyline, it means Homelander's own pathetic hubris, his desperate need for love, and his incredibly fragile ego become the absolute cause of his destruction. It makes the final confrontation so much more intensely personal and psychological, rather than just a mind-numbing physical slugfest between two invincible monsters. So, the brutal 2-on-1 showdown kicks off. Ryan makes his ultimate choice, turning on his father, while Butcher furiously lays into him. But they desperately need Kimiko's nuclear blast to permanently strip Homelander's powers. We watch her struggle under this immense pressure until she sees a vision of Frenchie. He softly tells her, the rage isn't what makes you strong. Let's just appreciate the beautiful poetic irony here. She actually stops fighting out of pure, unadulterated hatred. Instead, she channels her profound love for Frenchie. The devastating blast that permanently depowers the most terrifying being on Earth doesn't come from malice. It comes from pure love and profound grief. And that leads us straight to one of the most haunting moments in television history. Stripped of his powers, his invulnerability, and his godhood, Homelander's voice completely shifts. It goes from this deep, stoic threat to a sniveling, whiny plea. He is crawling pathetically on the Oval Office floor, desperately trying to bargain, even offering Billy fake, twisted versions of Becca just to survive. But Billy Butcher? He stands over him, totally unfazed and completely ice cold. He simply says, "For Becca," and delivers a single, brutal, comic-accurate strike to Homelander's head with a crowbar. It is the quiet, deeply satisfying execution of a false god who, in the end, died begging. But you know, the victory is incredibly short-lived. With Homelander dead, Butcher suggests taking Ryan and running away to live quietly with his dog, Terror. But Ryan forcefully rejects him. He sees the exact same corruption and darkness in Butcher that his father had. And then, it gets worse. Butcher returns to his lonely hideout only to find Terror dead. This is it. This is the ultimate breaking point. Isolated, rejected by the boy he swore to protect, and grieving his only loyal companion, Butcher becomes a dark mirror to Homelander himself. Pushed entirely over the edge, he grabs the soup-killing virus and marches straight to Vought Tower, fully prepared to commit global genocide. I look at what happens next at Vought Tower as a massive, absolutely crucial deviation from the comics, and it perfectly highlights Huey's character growth. In the original source material, Butcher goes completely off the deep end, ruthlessly murdering Mother's Milk, Frenchie, and Kimiko just to stop them from interfering, before Huey accidentally kills him in a desperate scuffle. But in the show, Huey tracks Butcher down alone. Taking an absolute bloody beating from his former mentor, Huey refuses to stay down, acting as the exact opposite of a depowered Homelander. He continuously appeals to Billy's deeply buried humanity, forcing this sudden moment of hesitation. And in that split second, Huey is the one who actively pulls the trigger to stop the global virus. This choice fundamentally changes Billy's legacy. He goes from being an irredeemable monster into a tragic savior who, deep down, really wanted to be stopped. After all that chaos, Butcher's beautifully bittersweet funeral perfectly captures his incredibly complicated legacy. Huey delivers the eulogy, tearfully calling him a hero who made the world a better place, while also guessing he's probably in hell kicking the devil's teeth in right now. He gets buried right beside Becca, which honestly is all he ever really wanted. And his headstone, absolute perfection. It reads, "I fuck off, you see you next Tuesdays." That right there firmly cements him as the deeply flawed, brutally violent hero who, at the absolute end of the day, swallowed his own worst impulses just enough to finally save the world. As the dust finally settles to the somber tune of Billy Joel's Piano Man, our surviving heroes finally escape the endless cycle of violence. It really feels like a deep, necessary exhale after years of non-stop trauma. Mother's Milk gets his ultimate happy ending, marrying Monique and raising Ryan in a quiet, loving home, far away from angry men. Huey and Annie are expecting a baby girl, who they plan to name Robin. Kimiko adopts a dog and heads to Marseille to eat the food Frenchie always promised her, completely refusing to let trauma consume the rest of her life. And Robert Singer is reinstated as president, immediately getting to work reforming the Bureau of Super Affairs. So the main story is over, but this expansive, chaotic universe, it is far from finished. We are jumping into a 1950s prequel titled Vought Rising, which is pitched as this gritty murder mystery exploring the dark origins of Vought, starring Soldier Boy and Stormfront right in the middle of the Red Scare. Then, in the present timeline, we saw the surviving kids from Gen V being smuggled off to Canada to escape the lingering regime,
And looking toward the future, The Boys Mexico, starring Diego Luna, is in development, promising to explore the twisted nature of superhero corruption against an entirely new cultural backdrop.
We've watched unstoppable gods fall to the White House floor, and we've watched absolute monsters find peace 6 feet under. But right at the very end, Stan Edgar effortlessly returns to our screens. The towering Homelander murals are quietly scrubbed away, and Vought is just doing what Vought always does: rebranding, restructuring, and surviving. The shareholders are quickly appeased, and the machine just keeps turning. It forces us to ask a deeply uncomfortable question. In a world where corporate corruption is cyclical and completely unstoppable, was Billy Butcher's ultimate sacrifice truly enough? What do you think?